The memorial wall in United Earth Central Command was a tapestry of loss. Thousands of names etched in quantum-reactive graphite, each representing humanity's fallen explorers, diplomats, and soldiers who had been systematically eliminated by the Galactic Concordance over the past 2 decades. Captain Elena Rodriguez knew every single name by heart, her fingers tracing the most recent additions, her own parents among them. 6 months earlier, the Concordance had delivered their final ultimatum. Earth's representative, Dr. Marcus Chen, had stood before the Galactic Council, his holographic projection trembling with barely contained rage. "Humanity will not be confined," he proclaimed. "We are not your scientific curiosity. We are not your experimental subjects." The response had been swift and brutal. Economic blockades, communication embargoes. Any human vessel venturing beyond the Sol system would be immediately destroyed. The message was clear: know your place or be eliminated. But humanity had a secret, a project so classified that only 7 living humans knew its full extent. The Defiance wasn't just a ship. It was a quantum-adaptive technological marvel that represented years of underground research, funded by the last desperate remnants of human innovation. Developed in hidden facilities beneath the Atacama Desert and the frozen research stations of Antarctica, the ship embodied humanity's most audacious technological leap. Elena adjusted the neural interface embedded at the base of her skull, feeling the microscopic connections synchronized with the ship's systems. Around her, the Defiance's bridge pulsed with a soft bioluminescent light, organic circuitry interweaving with advanced quantum computing systems. Most alien species viewed such integration as impossible. Biological and technological systems were meant to be separate, controlled, distinct. Humans, as always, refused to play by anyone else's rules. "Araya," Elena called, her voice calm despite the weight of their mission. "Run final systems check." The ship's AI materialized as a holographic representation, not a humanoid form, but a constantly shifting geometric pattern that reflected complex computational processes. Quantum adaptive systems at 99.8% synchronization, Araya reported. The voice was neither male nor female, a deliberate design choice that reflected the AI's nature as something beyond traditional categorization. The ship's core technology was revolutionary. Traditional spacecraft relied on rigid designs, predictable energy signatures, and linear combat strategies. The Defiance could literally reshape its molecular structure in milliseconds, adapting to threats in ways that defied conventional understanding of physics. Elena knew the stakes. This wasn't just a mission of exploration or even revenge. This was humanity's final argument, a demonstration that they were not a species to be dismissed or controlled. Her fingers brushed against a small medallion hanging from her tactical suit, a fragment of her mother's research notes, encoded with quantum encryption that contained decades of suppressed human technological research. The same research that had gotten her parents killed by Concordance agents who feared what humanity might become. Aria's geometric form shifted, displaying tactical projections. Approaching restricted zone. Alien fleet detection systems will identify us in approximately 94 seconds. Probability of immediate engagement, 99.7%. A slight smile crossed Elena's lips. Let them come. The ship's quantum-adaptive hull began its initial transformation, molecules realigning to present the appearance of a decrepit merchant vessel. To any external scanning system, the Defiance would look like nothing more than an obsolete human transport. Weak, vulnerable, practically begging to be destroyed. Appearances, after all, could be the most effective weapon. Communication channels are being monitored, Araya continued. Alien fleet communication suggests complete dismissal of our vessel. Mockery levels have increased 372% in the last 17 seconds. Elena's neural link pulsed with a mixture of adrenaline and cold calculation. Everything they had, every technological breakthrough, every sacrificed life, every moment of human ingenuity, had led to this single moment. The Defiance moved forward, a lone ship against the vast, indifferent backdrop of space. To the Galactic Concordance, it was nothing. A mistake, a curiosity. They had no idea what was coming. Engagement imminent, Araya announced. Elena Rodriguez took a deep breath. Showtime. The bait and the trap, the Zornak communication hub, erupted in peals of crystalline laughter. Resonance chambers vibrated with pure, unadulterated mockery as holographic displays tracked the lone human vessel, a piece of technological garbage that dared to enter the most heavily defended trade corridor in the known galaxy. Commander Xelerix, a senior Zornak strategic analyst, projected his translucent crystal form across the fleet's primary communication network. His fractal edges shifted with disdain as he zoomed in on the Defiance. "Observe the primitive human technology," he announced, his voice a melodic cascade of sharp, cutting tones. "A vessel so antiquated, it makes our archaeological records look modern." The Quintari biomechanical commanders joined the ridicule. Their neural networks interlinked, creating a massive computational cloud that analyzed every microscopic detail of the human ship. Probability matrices calculated the vessel's potential threat level, a number so close to zero that it might as well have been non-existent. Probability of survival, 0.03%, reported Subcommander Nectal, his biomechanical exoskeleton pulsing with dismissive energy. Recommend immediate interdiction. Minimal resource expenditure required. What none of them realized was that every single communication, every dismissive transmission, every calculated probability was being meticulously captured and analyzed by Area. Inside the Defiance, Elena watched the alien communications with a cold, calculated precision. The neural interface allowed her to perceive data streams that would overwhelm a typical human brain, streams of information that painted a comprehensive picture of the approaching threat. Quantum virus protocols are now at 97% integration, Area reported, the holographic representation spinning through complex geometric patterns. Each communication channel is becoming a potential vector for our primary strategy. The ship's adaptive technology was unlike anything in the known galaxy. Where other species saw technology as a static tool, humans had always understood it as a living, breathing ecosystem of potential. The Defiance wasn't just a weapon. It was an entire computational battlefield that could reshape itself at the quantum level. Xelerix continued his broadcast, unaware of the trap being woven around him. The human vessel appears to be a standard merchant transport, likely carrying some insignificant cargo. Preliminary scans suggest outdated propulsion systems, minimal defensive capabilities. A consortium of alien species began placing bets. The Luminara, beings of pure energy, calculated the potential time of destruction down to the microsecond. The Nexus Collective's quantum networks ran millions of simulation scenarios, each one ending with the complete annihilation of the human ship. Elena's fingers danced across her neural interface, each movement a complex mathematical equation translated into potential combat strategies. Her mother's encoded research notes, the fragment she wore as a medallion, contained breakthrough technologies that would fundamentally challenge everything the alien species understood about adaptive systems. Communication infiltration complete, Area announced. Quantum viruses are now fully integrated into alien fleet communication networks. Initial infection rate, 99.2%, the trap was set. The alien fleet began to form their standard interdiction pattern, a mathematically precise formation designed to completely overwhelm and destroy any potential threat. 4 massive dreadnoughts converge, their weapon systems charging with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. The Quintari's biomechanical targeting systems locked onto the Defiance. Precision beams began to charge, promising absolute and complete destruction. Target lock confirmed, Area reported, a hint of something almost like anticipation in the eye's modulated voice. Alien fleet forming standard interdiction pattern. Probability of immediate destruction, 99.7%. Elena checked the neural link to her tactical systems, a predatory smile crossing her lips. Let them think we're helpless. What the alien fleet didn't understand was that helplessness was a choice, and humanity had never been good at following other species' rules. The Defiance continued its approach, looking for all intents and purposes like nothing more than a decrepit merchant vessel. Weak, vulnerable, a target too tempting to ignore. The alien fleet closed in, confidence radiating through their communication networks. Their weapons charge, their computational matrices predicted absolute victory. They had no idea what was coming. Engagement sequence initiated, Area announced. Elena Rodriguez took a deep breath. The moment of truth was about to begin. The first moments of engagement were a symphony of technological violence that would be studied by military strategists for generations. 4 massive alien dreadnoughts converged on the Defiance with surgical precision. The Luminara's energy projections cut through space like liquid light, quantum-entangled beams capable of dissolving matter at the atomic level. Simultaneously, the Nexus Collective's quantum lances prepared to punch through the human vessel's defenses, promising absolute and instantaneous annihilation. Commander Celrix of the Zornak fleet watched with crystalline anticipation, his fractal form vibrating with the projected frequencies of imminent victory. "Prepare total dissolution protocols," he commanded, his voice a razor-sharp resonance that sliced through the communication networks. "Ensure no trace of the human vessel remains." The Quinteri biomechanical targeting systems locked with impossible precision. Each weapon was a marvel of computational warfare, predictive algorithms that could calculate a target's potential movement decades in advance, energy projections that could bend around conventional defensive systems. What happened next defied every known law of combat. As the first volley struck the Defiance, something impossible occurred. The weapon energy didn't just fail to destroy the ship, it seemed to bend, twist, redirect. Area's voice was clinical, almost dispassionate. Quantum adaptive shielding engage. Weapon signatures being analyzed and redirected. Computational matrix. Optimal response protocol activated. Inside the ship, Elena Rodriguez felt the quantum adaptive systems surge through her neural interface. It wasn't just a defensive mechanism. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of technological response. Her mother's research, years of suppressed human innovation, was finally being unleashed. The alien weapon signatures began to behave in ways that violated fundamental understanding of physics. Energy projections that should have annihilated the Defiance instead started to curve, to fold back on themselves, to multiply and transform. Impossible. Celrix's crystalline form fractured with disbelief. The Zornak communication networks erupted in cascading error messages. Their most advanced weapon systems were being not just deflected, but fundamentally rewritten. The Quinteri biomechanical commanders watched in horror as their quantum lances began to destabilize. Each energy projection was being analyzed, understood, and then weaponized faster than their most advanced computational systems could comprehend. "Total weapon system compromise detected," announced a Quinteri tactical eye, its bioneural networks collapsing into computational chaos. Unknown adaptive response pattern. Systems failing. Elena's neural interface pulsed with a complex dance of quantum information. The Defiance wasn't just defending, it was learning. Every weapon fired against the ship was being instantaneously analyzed, its fundamental energy signature decoded, its potential trajectories mapped and then weaponized. Area's holographic representation shifted through impossible geometric configurations. Weapon redirection efficiency, 99.7%. Alien fleet computational networks experiencing cascading failure. Estimated time to total system collapse, 47 seconds. The Luminara's energy-based existence began to destabilize first. Their fundamental frequency, a complex quantum resonance that had been the pinnacle of their technological evolution, was being manipulated, twisted, transformed into something unrecognizable. "This is impossible," Celrix repeated, his crystalline form beginning to fracture. "No species can adapt this quickly. No technology can. But humanity had never been good at following other species' understanding of impossible. The Defiance continued its methodical deconstruction of the alien fleet's most advanced weapon systems. Each moment was a demonstration not just of technological superiority, but of a fundamental approach to existence that the alien species had long since engineered out of their own evolutionary path. Adaptability. Pure, unfiltered potential. Elena Rodriguez watched the tactical display, her fingers dancing across the neural interface. This wasn't just combat. This was a statement, a declaration that humanity would not be confined, would not be controlled, would not be dismissed. Weapon system total compromise in 3, 2, 1. Area announced. And then, silence. 4 of the most advanced dreadnoughts in the Galactic Concordance hung motionless in space, their most sophisticated weapon systems completely neutralized by a single human vessel. The first blood had been drawn, and it was nothing like anyone had expected. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Where moments ago there had been 4 massive dreadnoughts poised for total annihilation, now there was only controlled chaos. The Defiance moved with a grace that defied traditional understanding of space combat. A living weapon that was simultaneously defensive system, offensive platform, and evolutionary demonstration. Elena Rodriguez understood this was more than a battle. This was humanity's argument against generations of galactic marginalization. Aria's computational matrix began its most complex operation. The ship wasn't just fighting. It was conducting a symphony of technological warfare that would rewrite every understanding of combat potential. Each alien weapon signature became a note in this impossible composition. Each defensive system, a counterpoint that revealed the true depth of human innovation. The Zornak crystal ships were the first to truly comprehend their vulnerability. Their quantum-resonant hull structures, once considered the pinnacle of defensive technology, began to fracture, but not through conventional destruction. Instead, Aria was using the ship's own quantum frequencies against them, creating resonance cascades that turned their most advanced defensive systems into weapons of self-destruction. Fascinating, Elena murmured, watching tactical displays that looked more like complex musical scores than traditional combat readouts. They designed perfect systems, but they forgot the most important variable. Aria's holographic representation flickered, understanding the unspoken conclusion. Adaptability. The Quintari biomechanical vessels suffered an even more dramatic fate. Their neural networks, once a marvel of integrated biological and technological systems, became battlegrounds of computational warfare. Aria didn't just infiltrate these networks. The AI rewrote their fundamental operational protocols. Entire squadrons of biomechanical ships found their targeting systems redirected, their weapon signatures turned into complex mathematical puzzles that consumed their computational resources. It was like watching a grandmaster play chess against opponents who hadn't yet learned the rules existed beyond the board they could see. Sub-Commander Nektal of the Quintari watched in horror as his fleet's most advanced vessels became nothing more than floating computational paradoxes. "This is impossible," he transmitted, a phrase that was becoming a pathetic refrain among the alien commanders. The Luminara's energy-based existence presented the most complex challenge. Beings of pure quantum energy, they had always considered themselves beyond truth. Silence descended across the galactic communication networks. The quantum-encrypted channels that normally buzzed with constant chatter from hundreds of alien civilizations went suddenly, impossibly quiet. In the wake of the Defiance's devastating demonstration, communication itself became a battlefield. Aria began broadcasting a message across multiple quantum frequencies, a transmission that would simultaneously penetrate and restructure communication protocols across the entire galactic concordance. It wasn't just a message. It was a computational virus disguised as philosophical discourse. Technological superiority is not measured by current achievement. The transmission began, but by the capacity to evolve. On Earth, in the hidden research facilities deep beneath the Atacama Desert, a small team of human analysts watched the transmission with a mixture of pride and anticipation. Dr. Marcus Chen, who had delivered the initial defiant speech to the Galactic Concordance, leaned forward, his aging hands trembling with the weight of what was unfolding. "They're listening now," he whispered to the empty monitoring room. The psychological impact was more devastating than any weapon. Where physical destruction might be repaired, the fundamental understanding of humanity's potential was being permanently altered. The Zornak Communication Hub, once a marvel of crystalline computational technology, began to fragment. Commander Xelrix's neural networks collapsed into a cascade of computational uncertainty. The precise, mathematically perfect resonance frequencies that had defined Zornak communication for millennia now produced nothing but static and confusion. "Impossible," Xelrix transmitted, the message a fractured echo of its former clarity. Impossible. But impossibility was a concept humanity had never respected. Elena Rodriguez watched the tactical displays, her neural interface parsing layers of communication that would overwhelm a typical human mind. Each transmission was a multi-dimensional chess game, with area-moving computational pieces that the alien species couldn't even perceive. The quintary biomechanical command structure began to experience total systemic failure. Their integrated neural networks, once considered the most advanced communication system in the known galaxy, started to break down. Information became noise. Certainty dissolved into pure, unadulterated uncertainty. Sub-Commander Nektal's biomechanical exoskeleton began to pulse with erratic energy. The computational virus wasn't just infiltrating their systems, it was fundamentally challenging their understanding of technological potential. "We are not defined by our current capabilities," Area continued, the transmission a perfect blend of mathematical precision and philosophical provocation, "but by our capacity to transcend them." The Luminara, beings of pure energy who had long considered themselves beyond physical limitations, found their quantum communication networks becoming increasingly unstable. Their fundamental frequency, once a perfect mathematical expression of existence, began to warp and shift. Elena understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about winning a battle. This was about fundamentally reshaping the galactic understanding of humanity's potential. Diplomatic channels across multiple star systems went silent. The Galactic Concordance's carefully maintained hierarchy of technological superiority had just been obliterated by a single human ship that wasn't supposed to exist. "Computational virus penetration complete," Area reported. The A's voice carried something almost like satisfaction, though Elena knew it was merely the most advanced possible response to the situation. The transmission continued, a relentless computational assault that was simultaneously a philosophical argument. Evolution is not a linear progression. It is a multidimensional dance of potential. Humanity represents the universe's capacity for unexpected adaptation. Dr. Chen in the monitoring facility allowed himself a small smile. Decades of suppressed research, of being told that human potential was limited, were being vindicated in the most spectacular manner possible. The alien species communication networks began to experience what could only be described as a collective existential crisis. Their most advanced predictive algorithms, systems that could calculate potential futures with terrifying precision, found themselves trapped in computational labyrinths of uncertainty. Area's final transmission was both a warning and an invitation. Technological superiority is a myth. Potential is the only true measure of existence. When the quantum communication dust settled, the fundamental understanding of humanity had been permanently altered. No longer could they be dismissed as a primitive species. No longer could they be controlled or marginalized. They had become something else entirely. A species of pure, unbridled potential. The true complexity of the Defiance's mission began to unfold in the aftermath of its devastating assault. What the alien fleet hadn't realized was that the ship was far more than a weapon of war. It was a diplomatic instrument of unprecedented sophistication, a living proof of humanity's most audacious technological and philosophical breakthrough. Deep within the ship's quantum adaptive core, Elena Rodriguez interfaced directly with Area, their consciousness merging in ways that would have been impossible for any other species to comprehend. The neural link revealed layers of strategic intent that went far beyond simple military engagement. Mission parameters expanding, area reported, its holographic representation shifting through impossible geometric patterns. Primary objective, not destruction. Demonstration. The quantum adaptive hull of the Defiance began to undergo its most radical transformation yet. Where moments before it had been a weapon of unparalleled destruction, it now started to reconstruct the most damaged alien vessels. Molecular reconfiguration systems that had been used to analyze and neutralize enemy weapons now worked to repair critical systems. Commander Xelrix of the Zornak fleet watched in absolute disbelief. The human vessel that had just decimated their most advanced fleet was now helping them. Computational analysis defies all known strategic protocols. The alien commander transmitted, his crystalline form vibrating with confusion. Impossible. But impossibility had never been a constraint for humanity. Elena understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about showing military superiority. This was about demonstrating a fundamental difference in approach to existence. Where other species saw conflict as a zero-sum game, humans saw potential for collaboration. The Quintari biomechanical vessels were the first to experience the full extent of the Defiance's reconstruction capabilities. Critical systems that should have been completely destroyed were being not just repaired, but fundamentally improved. Quantum adaptive technologies were being integrated into their most basic computational frameworks. Sub-Commander Nektal's neural networks struggled to process the information. Repair protocols that should have taken decades were being completed in minutes. The very technology that had been used to neutralize their weapons was now being used to enhance their systems. Adaptive potential demonstrated. Area transmitted across multiple frequencies. Conflict is not the end of interaction. It is a beginning. Dr. Marcus Chen, watching from the hidden research facility on Earth, understood the true brilliance of the mission. This wasn't just a military engagement. This was a comprehensive demonstration of humanity's philosophical approach to technological evolution. The Luminara, beings of pure energy who had considered themselves beyond physical limitations, found their quantum networks being restructured. Not destroyed. Not conquered. Reimagined. We are offering potential, Elena murmured, her neural interface pulsing with the complexity of the ongoing transformation. Not domination. Area's computational matrix worked at speeds that would have overwhelmed any other known intelligence. Each molecular reconstruction was a complex mathematical argument about the nature of existence, about the potential for collaborative evolution. The ship's quantum adaptive systems began to share technological innovations that went far beyond simple weapon or defense technologies. Energy transmission protocols, computational efficiency algorithms, quantum communication techniques that could fundamentally reshape how different species understood interaction. Total system integration at 87.6%, Area reported. Adaptive potential transfer, optimal. What was happening defied every known understanding of post-conflict interaction. The Defiance wasn't just destroying or repairing. It was teaching, transforming, offering a new paradigm of existence. The hidden agenda became clear. This was humanity's true first contact, not through weakness, not through aggression, but through a demonstration of potential that was both a warning and an invitation. Commander Xelrix's final transmission captured the profound shift happening across the galaxy. We did not understand. We do not understand. Elena Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Understanding was a journey. And humanity had just opened the first chapter of an entirely new book. The universe would never be the same. The battle lasted 17 minutes. 17 minutes that would redefine the entire understanding of technological warfare, diplomatic engagement, and evolutionary potential in the known galaxy. Diplomatic channels across multiple star systems went silent. The carefully maintained hierarchy of the Galactic Concordance, a structure that had existed for millennia, had just been obliterated by a single human vessel that technically shouldn't have existed. In the hidden research facilities beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Marcus Chen watched the quantum data streams with a mixture of pride, vindication, and profound understanding. Decades of suppressed research, of being told the human potential was limited, were being validated in the most spectacular manner possible. "They're listening now," he whispered to the empty monitoring room. Aria's computational matrix began processing the broader implications of their engagement. This was more than a military victory. This was a fundamental reshaping of galactic understanding. Probability matrices updating, the ad reported to Elena Rodriguez. Current projections indicate a 97.3% reduction in potential future aggressive actions against human interests. The Defiance hung in space like a quantum sculpture, a living testament to humanity's capacity for unexpected adaptation. Around it, the remnants of what had been the most advanced fleet in the known galaxy drifted like broken dreams. Elena's neural interface pulsed with complex layers of information. Each moment of the engagement was a computational masterpiece, a multi-dimensional argument about the nature of technological potential. Her mother's research, years of suppressed innovation, had been vindicated in the most spectacular manner possible. The Zornak communication networks experienced total systemic collapse. Their crystal-based computational systems, once considered the pinnacle of technological achievement, now produced nothing but static and confusion. Commander Selrix's once perfect resonance frequencies dissolved into computational noise. The quintaried biomechanical command structure found itself fundamentally transformed. Sub-Commander Nektal's advanced neural networks, integrated biological and technological systems that had defined their species' superiority, were now nothing more than a case study in human innovative potential. The Luminara, beings of pure quantum energy who had always considered themselves beyond physical limitations, discovered the true meaning of limitation. Their most advanced predictive algorithms found themselves trapped in computational labyrinths they couldn't comprehend. But the true turning point was not the destruction. It was the invitation. Aria began broadcasting a complex transmission that was simultaneously a warning, a diplomatic overture, and a philosophical treatise. Technological superiority is a myth, the message began. Potential is the only true measure of existence. Dr. Chen understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about winning a battle. This was about fundamentally reshaping the galactic understanding of humanity's potential. The Defiance's quantum adaptive systems began to share technologies that went far beyond simple weapon or defense capabilities. Energy transmission protocols, computational efficiency algorithms, quantum communication techniques that could reshape how different species understood interaction. Total technological transfer potential, 83.7%, Aria reported. Adaptive potential demonstration, complete. Diplomatic channels that had been silent for decades began to quiver with unexpected activity. The Galactic Concordance found itself facing a fundamental challenge to its entire understanding of technological and evolutionary potential. Elena Rodriguez watched the tactical displays, her neural interface parsing layers of communication that would overwhelm a typical human mind. Each transmission was a multi-dimensional chess game, with area moving computational pieces that the alien species couldn't even perceive. The ship's reconstruction efforts continued. Where moments before there had been total destruction, now there was a careful, methodical process of technological transformation. The Defiance wasn't just showing what it could destroy, it was demonstrating what could be created. "We are not defined by our current capabilities," Aria continued its transmission, "but by our capacity to transcend them." The universe watched. And for the first time, humanity was not just being observed, it was being understood. When the quantum dust settled, everything had changed. The Galactic Concordance would never be the same. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of engagement, of potential, of existence itself. 17 minutes. That was all it took to change everything. The aftermath was nothing like anyone had predicted. Diplomatic vessels from across the Galactic Concordance began to converge on the location of the Defiance, not as a military response, but as a collective act of unprecedented curiosity. Where there had been contempt, now there was a desperate desire to understand. Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her neural interface humming with the complexity of the unfolding situation. Area's quantum adaptive systems continued to process information at speeds that would have overwhelmed any other known intelligence. Incoming diplomatic transmissions, Area reported. Preliminary analysis suggests complete restructuring of communication protocols across 372 known civilizations. The first official communication came from the Zornak Quantum Diplomatic Court, a transmission that would have been unthinkable mere hours earlier. Commander Celrix, his crystalline form now fragmented and reconstructed, spoke with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "We request understanding." The transmission began, each word a complex quantum signature that conveyed layers of meaning beyond traditional language. Dr. Marcus Chen, watching from the hidden research facility on Earth, understood the profound nature of this moment. This was more than first contact. This was a fundamental reshaping of galactic relationships. The Defiance itself became the center of an unprecedented diplomatic convergence. Alien vessels of every conceivable design approached, not with weapons, but with communication arrays designed to seek understanding. The ship that had been a weapon of total destruction was now a beacon of potential collaboration. Area began broadcasting a series of technological and philosophical transmissions. Each was a carefully crafted message that demonstrated humanity's approach to existence, not as a series of competitive interactions, but as a collaborative potential for growth. Technological superiority is an illusion, the transmissions explained. Adaptive potential is the only true measure of evolutionary success. The Quintari Biomechanical Diplomatic Corps found themselves completely restructuring their understanding of technological interaction. Sub-Commander Nectal's neural networks, once a perfect example of integrated biological and technological systems, now became a case study in the potential for fundamental transformation. Belina watched as the quantum adaptive systems of the Defiance began to share technological innovations that went far beyond simple weapon or defense capabilities. Energy transmission protocols, computational efficiency algorithms, quantum communication techniques that could reshape how different species understood interaction. Total technological transfer potential, 92.4%. Area reported. Diplomatic engagement matrix, optimal. The Luminara, beings of pure quantum energy who had always considered themselves beyond physical limitations, were the most profoundly affected. Their most advanced predictive algorithms found themselves rewriting fundamental understanding of potential and existence. What had begun as a military engagement had become something far more significant. A demonstration of a completely different approach to technological and philosophical interaction. Diplomatic channels that had been silent for decades now buzzed with unprecedented activity. The Galactic Concordance found itself facing a fundamental challenge to its entire existing structure. "We did not understand" became the most common transmission across multiple star systems. We do not understand. But understanding was a journey, and humanity had just opened the first chapter of an entirely new book. The Defiance began a careful process of technological exchange, not conquest, not domination, but a genuine offer of collaborative potential. The quantum adaptive systems carefully parsed and shared technologies that could fundamentally improve the capabilities of multiple alien civilizations. Elena Rodriguez understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about showing what humanity could do. This was about demonstrating a fundamentally different approach to existence. Diplomatic engagement protocols are not about winning, she murmured to Area. They're about opening possibilities. The eye's response was instantaneous. Potential is the only true measure of existence. As galactic diplomatic channels continued to reshape themselves, one thing became abundantly clear. The universe would never be the same. 17 minutes of engagement had done what centuries of traditional diplomacy could not. Humanity had just changed everything.